You know that moment when someone is still talking, but your brain has already left the room? You nod politely, you make the listening face, but inside, you are building your next sentence, like a tiny lawyer preparing for court. Miss StickCat noticed this and thought, wait, are we actually listening? Or are we just waiting for our turn to win? At first, this looks like a normal conversation. One person talks, the other person listens. Very civilized. Miss StickCat approves, cautiously. But here is the sneaky part. The listener may not be listening to understand. They may be listening for an opening, a weak spot, a place to jump in. And once that happens, the conversation quietly turns into a debate nobody agreed to enter. The trap is simple. We confuse preparing a reply with paying attention. They feel similar from the inside. Your eyes are on the person, your ears are technically working, but your attention is busy polishing your own opinion. So when they finish, you don't respond to what they meant. You respond to the tiny piece your brain grabbed while it was multitasking. But here's where things get interesting. People rarely say the real thing first. They say the surface thing. You never text me back. You don't care. Fine, do whatever you want. These are not always the full message. They are the wrapping paper. Underneath, there may be fear, embarrassment, loneliness, or a simple wish to matter. When someone says, "You're always late," the trap response is, "No, I'm not. Last Tuesday I was early." Accurate? Maybe. Helpful? Usually not. Because the real sentence might be, "I feel unimportant when I wait alone." But if you only react to the surface words, you miss the door underneath them. Miss StickCat calls this stepping on the trapdoor. So why do we do this? Because the brain, as usual, has other plans. When it hears criticism, even gentle criticism, it may treat it like a tiny attack. Suddenly, your brain grabs a shield. It wants to defend your ego, your image, your version of the story. It is not evil, it is protective. Slightly dramatic, but protective. This is the moment the conversation changes direction. 1 second, you could understand each other. The next second, your brain hits the defend button. You start collecting evidence, you remember old examples, you prepare your speech. And the other person can feel it. Even before you speak, they sense you are no longer with them. You are building a wall. The wall is built from tiny words. Actually, but that's not what happened. You do it too. These words are not always wrong, but they often arrive too early. They tell the other person your experience is now on trial. And once someone feels judged, they stop explaining. Now both people are defending themselves from a conversation that was supposed to connect them. Now, this is where Miss StickCat got suspicious. What if the most powerful sentence in a conversation is not clever? What if it is not a perfect comeback? What if it is just a pause? A tiny pause gives your brain time to notice, oh, I am about to defend myself. That moment is small, but tiny thing, big effect. The pause is not empty. It is where you ask yourself one quiet question. What did I actually hear? Not, how do I prove myself right? Not, how do I escape this uncomfortable feeling? Just, what might they be trying to say? This question changes the whole room. It moves you from reaction to curiosity. And curiosity is very hard to fight with. So instead of answering the accusation, try reflecting the feeling. If someone says, "You never listen," the trap says, "Yes, I do." But the better move is, "It sounds like you felt ignored." Notice the difference. You're not confessing to a crime. You're checking the emotional address. And if you get it wrong, they can correct you. This little check does something magical. It tells the other person, I am not fighting your sentence. I am trying to find you inside it. Most people soften when they feel found. Not always immediately, because humans are spicy little creatures, but often enough to change the direction. Suddenly, the conversation is not a courtroom. It is a map. Once the person feels heard, then you can add your side. Not with a speech cannon, with a sentence. I hear that you felt ignored. My side is, I was overwhelmed and didn't know how to answer. See? Still honest, still clear. But now it does not erase the other person. It adds information instead of replacing their reality. Because here is another trap, the speech cannon. That is when you finally get the floor and unload every thought you saved for the last 6 minutes. The problem is, nobody can absorb a cannon. They duck, they defend, they wait for it to be over. Miss StickCat recommends smaller bites. 1 point, 1 feeling, 1 request. Revolutionary, apparently. A useful formula is this: 1 feeling, 1 fact, 1 request. I felt worried when I didn't hear back. Could you send a quick message next time? Simple. No courtroom, no character attack, no ancient history from 2019. This gives the other person something they can actually respond to. Clear conversations are not always easy, but they are much less mysterious. Now, a warning. Do not invite the entire past into one conversation. The past loves attention. You start with one problem, and suddenly you are discussing every late reply, every weird tone, every birthday from 3 years ago. This makes the conversation heavy and impossible to solve. Stay with the current moment unless the pattern truly matters. So the next time a conversation gets tense, try this tiny traffic light. Red, notice you want to react. Yellow, pause before you speak. Green, ask one clarifying question. Do you mean you felt ignored? Are you saying this hurt more than I realized? These questions are small, but they interrupt the trap. They make space for truth to arrive without armor. Real listening is not silent waiting. It is active searching. You are searching for the meaning behind the words, the feeling behind the tone, and the need behind the complaint. This does not make you weak. It makes you precise. And precision, Miss StickCat believes, is far more elegant than winning an argument nobody remembers kindly. So the conversation trap is not talking too much. It is replying too soon, from the wrong place. The next time someone says something sharp, don't rush to load your reply. Pause. Look underneath. Ask what they mean. Then answer the real sentence, not just the loud one. Miss StickCat says, fewer speech cannons, more tiny keys. If Miss StickCat should investigate another tiny human mystery, leave your question in the comments. She will bring the magnifying glass, and possibly snacks.